The Brony Adventures 4, Chapter 54, A Father's Love. Scaloo runs out of Draconis' old castle with the paintball guns. Dustworm lands and says, Scoot, wait. Scaloo stops and says, Yes, Daddy? Dustworm hugs her and wraps both wings around her. She drops the paintball guns. Dustworm says, I love you, Scootaloo. You're my little girl. You light up my world. He smiles and says, just thinking of you makes me smile. Holding you, looking into your beautiful purple eyes. I'm so grateful for having you. I love you. Tears appear in Scully's eyes. Scully smiles and says, I love you too, Daddy. I'm so grateful for having you. She puts her face into his chest, crying. Dunstone says, I just had to make sure that you knew how much I love you, my little baby girl. Maria Dash walks up and says, What happened? Dunstone says, Nothing. She's just happy. That I swear to you, I will always be there for you. I promise you. All my life I will live for you and be true. When I hold you, nothing can compare. I believe in us. Not anything could ever mean so much. You're the one I trust. You're second to none. My heart, you won. The more I get to know you, nothing can compare. As love as strong as ours is rare. And I promise you, I will always be right there. I love you, Dashie. Tears run down her cheeks, and she says, I love you too. Dustworm opens his wings and hooves. Rainbow Dash joins the hug. Dustworm closes his hooves and rewraps his wings. Rainbow Dash and Dustworm kiss. Dustworm smiles and says, You're a miracle. Rainbow Dash smiles and says, So are you. Skilly lifts her head and looks up at Dustworm, smiling. Dustworm looks at them both, their eyes and smiles shining at him, full of love. Dustworm smiles even wider. Tears go down his cheeks. Skilly rests her head against his chest and says, Daddy, you're so warm. Nash puts her head beside Skilly's and says, You are. Twilight stops walking and looks at them. She smiles and says, Their love's gotten stronger. Flash runs up to Twilight and says, Mom? Twilight says, Yes. Flash hugs her and says, Thanks, Mom, for everything. I love you. Tears go down Twilight's cheeks and she says, You're welcome. I love you too, Flash. Meanwhile, in that Pony territory, Lyra says, Look what I found. Bonbon says, What? Lyra says, A piece of King Darkstorm's coat. We can call him. Bonbon smiles and says, We'll have our Dark King back. Lyra smiles and nods. Her horn starts to glow. The hair glows and disappears. Back to Equestria. Murdash says, Why are you talking like this? What is happening? Dustworm kisses her on top of her head and says, Nothing happened. I just wanted you both to know how much I love you. That I'm grateful to have you. Beyond grateful. There's no words. Scooter smiles and hugs him. Murdash smiles and says, I have no words. Dustworm pulls her in tight and says, That's okay. They kiss again. Dustworm smiles at her. Murdash smiles back. A white light flashes in Dustworm's eyes, and he says, Murdash says, What's wrong? Dustworm unwraps his wings and lets go of them. He stands up and backs away and says, his entire body glows. Dustworm screams, Ah! He splits into two glowing bodies. They stop glowing. Dustworm screams, Ah! He looks beside him. His eyes go wide. Then glow red and his armor appears and he says, Darkstorm, how are you here? Darkstorm looks around in confusion and says, I don't know. Darkstorm armor appears and he says, Darkstorm. Rainbow Dash runs up to Darkstorm and hugs him and says, Darkstorm, you're back. Darkstorm says, Dashie, why are you here? In Equestria. Darkstorm says, Her and the other Anti-6 are good now. I took them in. They live here. Rainbow says, It's great here. Every pony is so nice and doesn't try to kill you. Darkstorm says, You're happy here? Rainbow says, Yes. Darkstorm says, You're happy being good? And Ty Rainbow Dash says, yes. There's armor disappears, and he says, Thunderstorm, I don't want to fight or hurt any pony anymore. All I want is to be able to live and be with my Anti-Dashi. Anti-Rainbow Dash smiles and kisses Darkstorm and says, I love you. Darkstorm smiles and says, I love you too. Darkstorm's armor disappears and his eyes start glowing, and he says, have y'all been married yet? Darkstorm says, no. Darkstorm says, then let's take care of that. Darkstorm says, really? After all I've done? Darkstorm smiles and looks up to Darkstorm and says, always forgiven. You'll be like another brother, almost a twin, except for your red mane, tail, and black armor. Darkstorm holds out his hoof and says, welcome home. Darkstorm shakes his hoof and says, you are a wonder. Thank you. Darkstorm says, you are welcome, brother. You have Draconis' old castle. Darkstorm smiles and says, thank you again, brother. Anti-Rainbow Dash says, Racia. Darkstorm says, you're on. White says, you forgave him? Why? Darkstorm says, sometimes it is better to gain a friend than an enemy. Forgiveness is almost always the best choice, and he needed it. She did too. Twilight smiles and says, I understand. Rainbow Dash says, good job. Schoolie says, wow. Darkstorm says, still shot, baby girl? Schoolie slowly nods. Darkstorm says, you'll be alright. You're strong like your mother. Schoolie smiles and says, thanks. Darkstorm says, you're welcome, baby girl. End of Chapter 54. The Brony Adventures 4, Chapter 55, A Request. In Darkstorm's and Rainbow Dash's throne room, Hale comes up to Darkstorm screaming, a letter! You have a letter, King Thunderstorm! Thunderstorm says, thank you, Hale. You worked pretty hard. Take a week off. Hale smiles and says, yes, sir. Thank you. Thunderstorm says, I'm your cousin. Call me Thunder or Thunderstorm, if you're okay with that. Hale says, I am Thunderstorm. Thunderstorm smiles and says, cool. You may go. Hale says, see ya, Thunderstorm. Thunderstorm says, see ya, Hale. Hale leaves the room. Thunderstorm takes the letter and says, this isn't a letter. It's a request. For a trial. My trial? Why does a group of ponies want to put me on trial? I have nothing to hide. I'll accept it. Wait, what? They want to take Ratchet, David, and T on trial too? What the hey is going on? Thunderstorm sighs and says, I'll accept it anyway. 3 days later, in Equestria's courtroom, a pony says, all rise, the Honorable Judge Windfall presiding. Windfall says, thank you. You may be seated. Now, we're here to decide if King Thunderstorm, Prince Ratchet, King JT, and David will get to stay here or be banished from all of Equestria. Who would like to begin? A gray-coated, green-eyed pony with a black mane stands up and says, I will, Your Honor. I call King Thunderstorm to the stand. Thunderstorm walks to the stand. Windfall says, what's your name, prosecutor? The gray pony says, Mist, Your Honor. Windfall nods. Mist says, King Thunderstorm, do you promise to tell the truth? King Thunderstorm says, I wouldn't be here if I planned different. Mist says, good. Is it true that you have an anger problem? David, JT, and Ratchet look at each other. Thunderstorm says, yes. Mist says, and isn't it true that your anger got the best of you, and you killed your own daughter's mother? Thunderstorm says, I couldn't help it. I love my little girl. I didn't mean to. Tears fall down his cheeks, and he says, I regret it every day. Mist says, sure you do. You sick demon? Windfall says, Mr. Mist, that is enough. Mist says, sorry, Your Honor. Isn't it also true that you killed your own anti-mother and father? Also massacred a group of dark ponies and massacred humans on Earth? Thunderstorm says, yes. Mist says, no further questions. Windfall says, you may sit down. Thunderstorm nods slowly and walks back to his seat. Mist says, next, I call Ratchet to the stand. Ratchet walks to the stand. Mist says, do you promise to tell the truth? Ratchet says, yes. Mist says, Mr. Ratchet, What the buck is wrong with you? You built an android that caused an apocalypse. Thousands of stallions, mares, and worst of all, fillies lost their lives. Roger says, I know. I'm proud of it. He smiles. Miss says, you little son of a discord. Isn't it also true that you built 115 more androids and that Project 115 became self-aware? Roger says, yes, but I don't know. Out of nowhere, Wheatley, laughing, goes through the courtroom. Wolf says, order in the court. The bailiff says, use the gavel, sir. Wolf says, oh. Miss says, no further questions. Wolf says, you may sit down. Roger sits down. Miss says, next, I call David to the stand. David wants to the stand. Miss says, do you? David says, yeah, I promise. Miss says, okay then. Mr. David, isn't it true that you made a portal with illegal magic that led from Equestria to Earth and that Philly was scarred by some stories because of it? Schooler says, I'm not scarred. Miss says, got horribly scared. Well? Dave says, yes, but I didn't know my magic was illegal. Miss says, and isn't it also true that you let your own daughter go on a date with a pony way older than her, and that pony was King Thunderstorm? Dave says, hey, I did say no. She's just very rebellious. The jury whispers to each other. Miss says, so you can't control your own kid? Dave says, hey, Cheryl is usually a good girl. Cheryl says, thanks, Daddy. Wolf says, one more outburst, and I'll hold you all in contempt. Shut up. Miss says, no further questions. I think my point is made. Wolf says, you may sit down. David sits down. Miss says, finally, I call King JT to the stand. JT walks to the stand. Miss says, do you promise to? JT says, yes. Miss says, okay. King JT, isn't it true that when you first came to Equestria, you tried to use Spike as a lighter, and that you were a drug addict? JT says, it's true. The jury whispers to each other. JT says, but Twilight got me off of that stuff. Miss says, no further questions, Your Honor. I'm done. Wolf says, you may sit down. JT sits down. Wolf says, the defendants may start. End of chapter 55. The Brony Adventures 4, chapter 56, A Day in Court. Firefly walks up in front of every pony and says, You can't banish Thunder. After all he's done for us, he's died 4 times for Equestria. He rebuilt Ponyville and the Crystal Empire. He made Nightmare Night more fun for the kids. They love him and he loves them. I've never met a pony more nice, kind, noble, brave, caring, and trustworthy than Thunder. And the only pony more loyal than him is his own wife, Rainbow Dash. Storm has risked his life for another pony, more than any pony in all of Equestria. He has a family. He doesn't want to leave them. He has friends too. He doesn't want to leave them either. Yet, when he sees a pony in trouble, he's willing to die to protect them, to keep them alive. Why? Because to him, another pony's life matters more than his own. Do you really want to banish a pony like that? Miss stands up and says, what about his anger problem and the fact that he is half dark pony, the son of their old king, and he is their current king now? Firefly says, because he doesn't want to give up on his own kind. He's trying to change them. The jury whispers to each other. Firefly says, I'm done, Your Honor. Wolf says, you may sit down. Next. Gerald sits up and says, my dad has always tried to help other ponies. When he first came to Equestria, he helped Fluttershy with her animals, and he helped her escape Princess Skullcrow's hold when she was still kind of insane. He tried to help stop Project 7, and he is trustworthy. He has never cheated on my mother or done anything illegal knowingly. He is an amazing father. I always felt loved. I still do. Please don't banish my daddy. I'm done, Your Honor. Wolf says, you may sit down. Gerald sits down. The jury whispers to each other. Wolf says, next. Come on up. Twilight and Flash step up. Twilight says, I'll leave this to my son. She sits down. Flash says, my dad was a drug addict, but he stopped. Thanks to Mom. I ain't no drug addict, and that's because my dad kept me away from them. I've never heard the lighter story, the lighter story before, though. That's pretty funny. Flash and Jadea High Hoof. Miss stands up and says, I want him tested. Flash says, go ahead, I'm clean, and so is my dad. He is a loving, caring, kind, and nice father and husband. He ain't done nothing wrong, and you are a jackass. You son of a motherfucker. Miss says, that's cussing! Arrest him! Two police ponies handcuff him and walk him out. The jury whispers to each other. JD says, I'm dead. David says, yep. Windfall says, that's all of our defenders. I will. The doors burst open. Trixie screams, wait! David, Ratchet, Thunderstorm, and JT say, Trixie? Trixie was led to the judge. Windfall says, who are you here to defend? Trixie says, all of them. Thunderstorm, Ratchet, David, and JT say, huh? Windfall says, can she do that? The bailiff says, yes, sir, she can. Windfall says, okay, proceed, Miss Trixie. Trixie says, your amateur work insults the great and powerful Trixie. Windfall says, one more comment with that and I'll hold you in contempt. Trixie says, the great and powerful Trixie apologizes. Windfall says, good, proceed. Trixie says, the great and powerful Trixie will start by pointing out the obvious. These four ponies are heroes, fathers, and loving husbands. Why would you want to banish ponies like that? Miss stands up and says, King Thunderstorm is a threat to all of Equestria. He could kill us all. He has a dark pony army. Trixie says, your statement is invalid and stupid. Thunderstorm, please stand up and walk over to me. Thunderstorm stands up and walks to Trixie. Thunderstorm says, ow! Thunderstorm says, ah! Trixie says, see? I slapped him twice and he never tried to hurt me. Miss says, you're a mayor. He can't hit you. Trixie says, fine then. Bailiff? Bailiff walks up to Trixie and Thunderstorm and says, what? Trixie says, hit him. He won't hurt you. The bailiff says, okay. The bailiff punches Thunderstorm. Thunderstorm says, ah! His eyes glow red. Miss says, see? He's losing it. A little filly runs up to Thunderstorm and says, cool. How do you do that? Thunderstorm's eyes stop glowing red, and he smiles and kneels down and says, hey, kiddo. It happens when I get angry. Don't try it, though. It's a dark pony need thing. The filly says, aw. Thunderstorm says, hey, no frowning. His horn glows, and then he says, try it. The filly's eyes glow. The filly says, I can do it. He hugs Thunderstorm and says, thank you. Thunderstorm says, sure, kid. The filly runs off. The bailiff says, son, wait. Trixie says, see, that filly ran right up to Thunderstorm. He never felt threatened. He felt a friend and found one. David is a great pony and my only friend. He is the pony that Cheryl runs to when she is upset. He is a pony that a kind pony like Cheryl Lee chose to marry. Clearly, he is a caring father, husband, and friend. So are the others. The great and powerful Trixie is done. She's made her point. Windfall says, okay. You may sit down. Trixie sits down. Windfall says, if that's our last defender, let's move on. Thunderstorm bursts into the room and screams, wait! Windfall says, horse feathers. Go ahead, start. Thunderstorm says, I am Thunderstorm's anti-self. I was evil, but not anymore. I did a lot to Thunderstorm. I tried to kill his wife and his home. He forgave me. I'm still shocked. A pony and king who can forgive is one we need. Don't throw him out. Miss says, he didn't forgive Queen Chrysalis. He crushed her head. Did he forgive or give Anti-Colgate and Anti-Shining Armor and the other dark ponies behind them a chance? No, he massacred them. Storm's armor appears and his eyes glow red, and he says, I'll massacre you. Windfall says, order in the court. One more threat like that, Mr. Darkstorm, and I'll hold you in contempt of court. Darkstorm says, sorry, Judge. His armor disappears, and his eyes hop glowing red. And he says, they were beyond help. What else could he do? The jury whispers to each other. Dutchman says, I'm done, Judge. Windfall says, you may sit down. Miss says, please. Dutchman's eyes glow red. Miss says, sorry. Duststorm smiles and sits down. Windfall says, if there will be no other interruptions, let us continue. Miss stands up and says, he put his own daughter. King JT is a witness. So is Queen Twilight. Duststorm blushes and sinks down in his seat. Everybody starts talking. Windfall says, order, order, order in the court. Everybody sits down. Windfall says, one more outburst like that, Mr. Miss, and I'll have you removed from the courtroom. Miss says, sorry, Your Honor. Windfall says, I'm curious, and so is everybody else. What happened, Thunderstorm? Did you? Thunderstorm stands up and says, Windfall says, you are under oath. Thunderstorm says, yes, I did. Everybody starts talking. Windfall says, order! Continue on. Thunderstorm says, I didn't know she was my actual daughter, and she didn't know either. She seduced me. Everybody starts talking again. Windfall says, order! One more time, and you're all in contempt. How did you find out that she was your real daughter? Thunderstorm says, Dr. Hooves, he tested our DNA. I was shocked, and I felt sick to my stomach. I still do when I think about it. I love my little girl. I would have never have done it if I knew that she was my actual daughter, and how guilty I would feel afterwards. I love Dashi. She owns my heart. I just hadn't realized yet how lucky I was. I do now, and I will never forget. Windfall says, okay, jury, have you reached a verdict? Amir says, yes, Your Honor. We, the jury, find Dusthorn, David, and Ratchet innocent, but JT guilty of all charges. We do not wish to banish him, but simply have him do community service for 1,000 years. JT says, what? Dusthorn says, shut up. Windfall says, okay, King JT will serve 1,000 years of community service, and if he skips a day, 100 years will be added to his sentence. JT says, what? This is stupid. Dave says, shut up. Windfall says, Ratchet must destroy his lab and work in a lab where he will be constantly watched. Ratchet says, okay, I don't care. Windfall says, that is all. Court dismissed. Miss says, no! I want that murderer gone! Thunderstorm walks over to Miss and says, I'll show you murder. Thunderstorm's armor appears. Miss says, You stay away from me! He pulls out a picture of Zap Apple's body. Thunderstorm freezes. Tears go down his cheeks. His armor disappears. Miss says, that's right. Remember, you demon, how you killed her. Walking through the pool of her blood, it rippling with every step you took. Her screams of pain and anguish. Thunderstorm starts shaking, tears pouring out. Twilight says, leave him alone. David, JT, and Ratchet woke up behind Thunderstorm. The rest of the main six walks up too. Dash hugs Thunderstorm. He puts his face into her chest, crying. Dash says, jerk. Miss says, I did what I had to protect myself. Applejack says, bull. Twilight says, you could have done something less evil to protect yourself. Brady says, instead, you did this. You are evil. Just evil. Forsyth says, making a pony relive what he regrets the most. Big Pie says, what hurts him the most. Dave says, I say we kill him. Diddy says, me too. Shh! Miss says, shh! Miss says, He drops to his knees. Twilight says, Darkstorm? Darkstorm says, the pony hurts my brother like that. Darkstorm's armor drips blood. Miss says, He looks up at Twilight and tries to speak. He falls over dead. Twilight says, oh, Celestia. Dave says, thank you. Diddy says, yeah, thanks. Darkstorm says, happy to. See you, bro. Darkstorm walks off. Twilight says, you, JT, and Ratchet can go. We'll get Thunder home. JT says, you sure? Dave says, we could help. Applejack says, we're sure. Thanks for offering, though. David, JT, and Ratchet leave the room. Brady says, come on, girls, let's get him home. He's been through enough for one day. She kisses Thunderstorm on the cheek. Dash glares at her. Brady says, what? I'm just trying to make him feel better. Applejack says, Rare, you sure do know how to lie. Brady says, I am not lying. Twilight says, You're married. Speaking of Soul Silver, where has he been? Brady says, he left after he found out that I was having Thunderstorm's baby. Twilight says, What? He left you? And Brady says, Hello? Twilight says, Right. Come on, girls. We'll talk about this later. Brady nods. End of chapter 56. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.